Have you ever wondered why some people seem unshaken, even when life throws its worst at them? Why they walk through heartbreak, failure, betrayal, even loss without falling apart? It's not that they feel less. In fact, they feel everything. But they've trained themselves not to be ruled by what they feel. They've built something most people never even think about: emotional strength. You see, emotional strength is not loud. It's not about pretending to be okay or acting like nothing affects you. It's quiet. It's calm. It's the inner voice that whispers, "Keep going," when everything inside you screams to quit. It's the decision to rise when you've been knocked down, not once, but over and over again. And it's the courage to face what hurts without letting it define you. The truth is, we live in a world that praises physical strength, outer success, hustle, and achievements. But what about the strength it takes to get out of bed when you feel broken? The strength to stay kind in a world that's often cruel? The strength to hold your peace when chaos surrounds you? That's emotional strength. And that kind of strength changes everything. When you're emotionally strong, you stop being controlled by circumstances. You stop giving power to people who try to break you. You stop needing validation because you've found something stronger, self-trust. And from that place, you make better decisions. You move forward with clarity. You stop chasing approval and start living with purpose. But here's the hard truth. No one is born emotionally strong. No one wakes up one day and just has it. Emotional strength is built day by day, moment by moment. It's the result of small, consistent habits that change the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you show up in life. And most people, they never build it. They let emotions run the show. They react, explode, collapse, and wonder why they feel stuck. But not you, not anymore, because the fact that you're here right now means something inside you is ready to change. You're ready to stop living at the mercy of your emotions. You're ready to take your power back. And if you're willing to listen, really listen, what comes next can shift everything. Imagine becoming the kind of person who doesn't panic under pressure, who doesn't crumble when things don't go your way, who feels deeply, but doesn't let pain derail your purpose. That version of you already exists. It's just waiting to be built. And the process starts with habits. Not talent, not luck, not genetics, just simple, powerful habits that rewire your mind and rebuild your emotional core. These habits will challenge you. They'll push you to confront the parts of yourself you've ignored. They'll force you to let go of comfort, excuses, and patterns that keep you weak. But if you lean in, if you stay with this until the end, you'll walk away with more than just knowledge. You'll walk away with a blueprint, a way to build unshakable emotional strength from the inside out. This isn't just about feeling better. This is about becoming better, stronger, wiser, more grounded. Because emotional strength doesn't just change how you handle hard times, it changes how you show up in every part of life, in your relationships, your career, your health, your goals. It gives you the ability to stay calm when others panic, to keep your focus when everything's falling apart, to lead with resilience even when you're hurting. That kind of strength, it's rare, but it's possible, and it's yours to build. So stay with this. Don't just listen, let it sink in. Because if you commit to this journey, you won't just feel inspired for a moment. You'll become unstoppable for a lifetime. Emotional strength is not about pretending to be fearless. It's about being honest with your fear and choosing not to let it decide your next move. Because the truth is, life will test you. Again and again. It will push you to your edge, shake your beliefs, and leave you standing in front of moments you didn't ask for. Moments you didn't feel ready for. And in those moments, you only have two choices: break or build. The strongest people you admire, they chose to build. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. And the first brick they laid was something simple but powerful: the ability to pause. That pause, before reacting, before lashing out, before spiraling, is where emotional strength begins. Because what breaks most people isn't the event, it's their reaction to it. It's the words they can't take back, the decisions made in anger, the silence born from pride. It's the chain of reactions that spirals into regret. And all of it can be avoided by one habit: choosing to pause. That pause might last 2 seconds, it might last 10. But in those seconds, everything shifts. You go from being controlled by emotion to becoming aware of it. You stop being a prisoner to your triggers and start becoming a master of your mind. That's not weakness, that's real control. That's strength no one can see, but everyone feels. It's in that pause that you hear your true self. Not the part of you that's scared, defensive, or angry, the part that knows who you are, what you value, and what kind of person you're becoming. That voice only gets louder when you learn to slow down. When you stop letting emotion speak for you. When you stop letting the moment own you, and you begin to own the moment. Most people think reacting quickly means power, but true power is found in restraint. It's found in choosing your response, not being consumed by impulse. Anyone can scream. Anyone can shut down. Anyone can walk away. But how many people can sit with their feelings, stay calm, and respond with clarity? That's rare. And that rarity is what sets the emotionally strong apart. Your power is not in being unaffected. It's in staying grounded despite being affected. And the beautiful thing is, this isn't a skill reserved for a few, it's a muscle anyone can build. Every time life frustrates you, every time someone disrespects you, every time disappointment hits hard, that's your chance to pause, to choose, to rise. That one habit, pausing before reacting, can transform your relationships, your career, and your confidence. Because people notice, they feel it. When you're the calm in the storm, you gain influence. When you speak from clarity instead of chaos, you earn trust. And when you trust yourself to stay composed, your entire sense of self begins to rise. You're no longer ruled by temporary emotion. You're led by permanent principle. Imagine how different life becomes when you're no longer driven by reaction but guided by wisdom. Arguments become conversations. Setbacks become lessons. Fear becomes fuel. And instead of wasting energy on emotional fires, you learn to direct that energy into progress. This kind of control doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It doesn't strip you of emotion. It teaches you to channel it. Because emotional strength isn't about suppression. It's about expression with intention. You don't bottle it up. You don't let it explode. You understand it, hold it, and respond from a place of choice, not chaos. You're not here to be a slave to your feelings. You're here to rise above them, to honor them without being ruled by them. And that journey begins the moment you realize your response is your power. So the next time your heart races, your mind spins, and your body wants to react, pause. Even for a second. Breathe. Remind yourself who you're choosing to become, not who the situation wants you to be. That choice, over time, becomes your new identity. Steady, clear, unshakable. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to prove your point to everyone. You don't have to lose your peace to protect your pride. The strongest people understand this. And they use that understanding to build something more valuable than control over others. They build control over themselves. Because when the world pushes you, your reaction is your message. Your behavior is your statement. Your response is your legacy. And when you choose to pause, you choose to lead yourself. And that's where real transformation begins. When you master your response, something powerful starts to happen. You begin to take back the narrative. You stop being a victim of emotional waves and start becoming the author of your own state. And once you stop reacting on impulse, you open space for something far more important, intentional self-talk. Because the most dangerous voice you'll ever hear is not someone else's, it's your own. That quiet voice in your mind that whispers doubt when no one's around. The voice that questions your worth, magnifies your fears, and reminds you of your past mistakes. You don't have to be in a crisis for it to speak. It shows up in silence. It shows up when you try to grow. It shows up every time you think about doing something that stretches you. That voice isn't just background noise. It's shaping your choices, your identity, and your reality. Most people spend their entire lives listening to it without realizing they have another option. They treat every thought like truth. But thoughts aren't facts, they're patterns. And those patterns were built by your past, by your pain, by people who maybe didn't see your worth. Emotional strength begins the moment you decide to stop being a passive listener and start becoming an active speaker inside your own mind. You don't have to believe everything you think. You don't have to accept every doubt that shows up. Strong people challenge their thoughts. They interrupt the spiral. They don't let their emotions write the script, they write it themselves. And that's a daily decision. A decision to lead your mind instead of letting your mind lead you. You tell yourself what's possible. You speak life when the world speaks fear. You remind yourself what you've overcome, not what you've lost. And when failure comes, and it will, you don't let it define your worth. You remind yourself that failure is a moment, not a mirror. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to build from it. The mind left untrained will default to fear. That's not weakness. That's biology. Your brain is built to protect you, not to grow you. It scans for threats, it magnifies risks, it imagines worst-case scenarios. And if you don't take the lead, it will convince you to stay small, stay safe, and settle. But the emotionally strong know this. Fear is just a signal, not a stop sign. They feel the fear. Then they speak truth louder than the fear. Not fake positivity, not empty hype, truth. Truth rooted in action, in experience, in belief. They remind themselves of who they are becoming, not who they were. They build a mindset that doesn't just survive pressure, but gets sharper under it. This isn't about pretending to be invincible. It's about becoming intentional, choosing what thoughts get space, choosing which stories get to stay, choosing how you speak to yourself when no one's watching. Because your internal dialogue becomes your external reality. The way you talk to yourself in private shapes how you show up in public. Confidence doesn't come from praise. It comes from proof. And every time you catch a limiting thought and replace it with power, you're giving yourself proof. Proof that you are in control. Proof that you are growing. Proof that you are capable of more than your past tried to convince you. And here's what most people never realize. Your inner voice sets the ceiling for your life. If you keep telling yourself you're not ready, you'll never start. If you keep telling yourself you're not enough, you'll sabotage your progress. But if you start speaking like the person you want to become, something shifts. Not overnight, but over time. Slowly, your mind starts to believe you. Your emotions begin to follow, and your behavior starts to align. This is why emotional strength isn't a mood, it's a mindset. It's the discipline of mental leadership, the habit of coaching yourself through doubt, the power to choose a new thought, even when the old ones feel familiar, especially then. You don't need to wait to feel strong to speak strong. You speak strong to become strong. You train your inner voice like a muscle. You teach it to fight for you, not against you. And one day, when life hits unexpectedly, that voice will be ready. It will speak calm in the middle of chaos. It will speak courage when everything feels uncertain. And that voice, your voice, will carry you forward. The mind is not your enemy. It's your most powerful ally if you lead it. If you choose to stop listening passively and start speaking with purpose. And when you do, something incredible happens. Your thoughts no longer shrink you. They strengthen you. They sharpen your focus. They push you through resistance. And they remind you, even on your darkest day, that you are still in control. Lead your mind or your mind will lead you. The choice is yours. And the habit starts now. Emotional strength is built in the unseen moments. Not when things are easy, not when you're winning, but when no one is clapping and you're still moving forward. It's in the days that feel ordinary, when motivation is gone, when your mind is tired, and the only thing left to rely on is your discipline. That's where real growth happens. That's where resilience is formed, not from inspiration, but from consistency. Because the truth is, emotion comes and goes. Some days you'll feel powerful, other days heavy. But your habits, your choices, those are your anchors. They're what keep you grounded when your feelings try to pull you in every direction. Strong people don't rely on how they feel to determine what they do. They rely on their standards. And those standards are built on routines that protect their peace, their focus, and their growth. You don't become emotionally strong by accident. You build it like anything else, by repetition, by showing up for yourself when it would be easier not to, by creating structure when the world feels chaotic, by deciding every day that your long-term vision matters more than your short-term comfort. It begins with your mornings. The moment you wake up, you're already in a battle. Will you choose stillness or rush? Will you choose intention or distraction? That first hour sets the tone for your day. And emotionally strong people don't leave it to chance. They own it. They start with clarity. They feed their minds something that reminds them of who they are and who they're becoming. They don't scroll for validation. They search for alignment. Because your first thoughts are powerful. They either serve your future or drain it. That's why building strong habits at the beginning of your day isn't about routine. It's about identity. It's a message to yourself, I'm in control today. I lead today. I build today. And as the day goes on, pressure builds. Distractions pull. Stress knocks. And that's when your habits matter most. Not big dramatic changes, but small, repeatable actions that keep your mind strong. A moment of silence to breathe. A pause before reacting. A reminder to hydrate. To move your body. To check in with your emotions instead of ignoring them. These small things, they aren't small at all. They're bricks. And over time, they build the fortress of your emotional foundation. Most people wait to feel better before they act better. But the emotionally strong understand the secret. You act your way into the feeling. You move before motivation. You speak before certainty. You lead yourself before anyone else does. And when you do that, your brain starts to trust you. It stops questioning if you'll show up. It expects it. That's how momentum begins. That's how confidence is built. Not from applause, but from alignment. And here's something most never understand. Emotional strength is not built by adding more. It's built by protecting what matters. Saying no to noise. Guarding your energy. Cutting out habits that drain your attention, steal your focus, and fill your mind with mental clutter. Because clarity is power. And without it, you live reactive, exhausted, and directionless. Strong people protect their peace with discipline. Not because they're perfect, but because they've felt what it's like to be scattered, overwhelmed, and uncentered. And they made a decision, never again. They filter their inputs. They choose their influences. They create space in their day, not just for doing, but for thinking, feeling, and realigning. You can't be emotionally strong if your life is constantly loud. Silence isn't weakness. It's where strength is formed. It's where you hear yourself clearly. It's where you reconnect with your vision, without the opinions, expectations, or pressure of the outside world. And if you don't create that space intentionally, the noise will consume you. That's why one of the most powerful habits you can build is creating margin in your day. Or not to escape, but to reconnect, to check in with your thoughts, to catch the ones that are pulling you backward, to remind yourself of the future you're building. That practice, done consistently, becomes your edge. It becomes the thing that separates you from people who drift through life and wonder why they feel lost. Discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. It's the structure you build around your emotions so they don't control you. It's the promise you make to yourself, I will not live at the mercy of chaos. And every day you live that promise, your mind gets stronger, your emotional reactions get slower, your peace gets deeper. And your life gets louder in the areas that matter most. You're not here to chase emotional highs. You're here to build emotional stability. And that starts with what you do consistently, not occasionally. It's your habits, not your hopes, that shape your strength. This isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters over and over again. Until the world can throw anything at you and you remain steady, focused, and unshaken. Because you've built something they can't see, but you feel it in everything you do. That's emotional strength. And it's built, one powerful habit at a time. Emotional strength deepens when you stop needing everything to be perfect. The idea that life must align with your expectations in order to feel peace is one of the biggest traps. Because things will go wrong, people will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. And if your stability is tied to the outside world behaving exactly how you want it to, you will constantly feel powerless. The most grounded people have learned to release control over outcomes, not because they've given up, but because they've grown up. They've realized that peace isn't found in forcing life to fit into a box. It's found in accepting what is, adjusting with clarity, and continuing to move with purpose. That shift from resistance to response is where unshakable strength is born. When you stop expecting certainty from life, you start finding certainty in yourself. You stop chasing stability in the external and you start building it internally. You realize that not everything needs to be figured out for you to take the next step. Not everything needs to feel easy for you to keep going. That mindset separates the strong from the stuck. Because emotional resilience isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about being honest with what's hard, without letting it paralyze your progress. It's the ability to stand inside the storm and say, this is not ideal, but I will not collapse here. That calm, that clarity, that sense of grounded presence, that's not something you're born with. That's something you create through repeated surrender to reality, paired with a commitment to rise anyway. People think surrender means weakness, but real surrender is strength. It means you're not wasting energy resisting what already is. It means you're choosing to redirect your power toward what you can influence, your focus, your mindset, your actions. You stop leaking your energy into frustration and start pouring it into adaptation. And in that moment, you gain something rare. You become flexible without breaking, soft without being weak, firm without being rigid. That's emotional maturity. That's where your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy, because it's no longer stuck trying to fix everything around you. It's focused on strengthening what's inside you. There's power in letting go, not of your vision, but of your demand that life cooperate with it perfectly. There's freedom in no longer needing the people around you to always understand you, agree with you, or validate your journey. Emotional strength is quiet like that. It doesn't beg for approval. It doesn't seek constant reassurance. It trusts. It adapts. It keeps going. And every time you choose that mindset, you grow a little more. You become a little less reactive, a little more composed. You learn to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, how can I grow through this? That shift is everything. It moves you from victim to leader, from overwhelmed to intentional. Because life will test you in ways that don't make sense at the time. But those moments, the ones that feel the most unfair, often become the ones that shape you the most deeply. If you let them. If you stop fighting the discomfort and start learning from it. If you stop waiting for perfect timing and start moving in alignment with your values, no matter what the outside looks like. That kind of internal power cannot be faked. It's felt. It shows up in how you speak, how you walk, how you handle conflict. It becomes part of your presence. Not loud, not forceful, but undeniable. People can sense it when you no longer panic under pressure. When you carry chaos without letting it carry you. When you've made peace with the fact that life isn't perfect, and neither are you, but you're still here, choosing growth over excuses, clarity over confusion, direction over doubt. It's not about pretending you're fine when you're not. It's about being deeply aware of your emotions and still choosing not to be ruled by them. You can acknowledge pain without becoming it. You can hold space for your frustration without letting it decide your actions. That's real mastery. That's the difference between surviving and leading. The world doesn't need more people who crumble at inconvenience. It needs more people who stand tall in uncertainty, who lead with principle, not just passion, who keep showing up, not because it's easy, but because they know that strength is forged, not found. So ask yourself, who are you when things don't go your way? Who are you when plans break, people change, and the road turns unexpectedly? Because that version of you, the one who shows up anyway, that's who determines the life you build. And you don't need to have all the answers to move forward. You just need to know who you are, what you value, and what kind of legacy you're building. Everything else, you learn along the way. Emotional strength isn't about always being certain. It's about being willing. Willing to trust yourself, willing to grow through discomfort, willing to let go of what you can't control so you can own what you can. That willingness becomes your power. That mindset becomes your armor. And that consistency becomes your transformation. Keep showing up with that kind of energy, and nothing can break you. The moment you stop waiting for perfect conditions is the moment you begin to take your power back. Life isn't going to pause for you to catch your breath. It won't slow down so you can feel ready. It doesn't rearrange itself to make the path easier. And that's why emotional strength is so rare, because it requires you to move forward even when everything around you tells you to hold back. You have to stop waiting to feel fearless before you start. You have to stop searching for certainty before you commit. The emotionally strong don't wait for permission. They don't wait for signs. They decide. They understand that waiting is just another form of fear wearing a different name. And fear will disguise itself as logic, caution, even humility, when really it's just hesitation in a clever costume. You were not born to hesitate. You were not made to live in pause. Every time you shrink yourself, you tell your potential it doesn't matter. Every time you hold back your voice, you train your soul to stay silent. That's not protecting yourself. That's sabotaging your future. And deep down, you know it. because the longer you stay still, the heavier your dreams begin to feel. Not because they're impossible, but because you keep carrying them instead of creating them. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to keep going with it sitting beside you. It's hearing the doubt, feeling the pressure, knowing the risks, and choosing forward anyway. That decision, repeated daily, builds something the world cannot take from you: self-trust. Self-trust is your foundation. When everything around you feels uncertain, it's the one thing that keeps you steady. Not because you know what's coming, but because you know who you'll be when it does. You trust that you'll show up. You trust that you'll adapt. You trust that no matter how many times you fall, you'll rise stronger, wiser, sharper. And that trust isn't built through comfort. It's earned through challenge, through the moments where quitting feels easier, but you don't, through the days that feel slow, but you still show up, through the fear that doesn't disappear, but you move anyway. That's where the real strength is born, quietly, consistently, powerfully. And the more you trust yourself, the less validation you need from others. You stop living to be seen. You start living to be aligned. You stop performing for approval and start acting from truth. That shift changes everything. Because now your actions are driven by purpose, not pressure. By principle, not popularity. That's when you become unstoppable. Not because you're always motivated, but because you've made discipline your identity. You're not chasing highs anymore. You've built a rhythm. You've learned that emotion is a wave, but habits are the anchor. And when you lead with that kind of consistency, life starts to respond differently. You attract opportunities not because you're lucky, but because you've prepared. You've shown you can handle more. You've proven to yourself that you don't fold under resistance. You rise through it. But this isn't something you do once. This is a way of being. It's a decision to hold yourself to a higher standard even when no one's watching, especially then. Because integrity isn't what you say when the world is listening. It's what you do when it's not. And emotionally strong people hold that line. They stay accountable to themselves. They don't just chase goals, they honor values. And that creates a sense of self-worth that doesn't need to be fed by achievement, applause, or attention. You don't need the world to tell you that you're enough. You need to prove to yourself that you're showing up for who you're becoming. That's the only approval that builds real confidence. Not the kind that fades when circumstances shift, but the kind that stands when everything else shakes. And yes, there will be days when your energy dips, days when doubt sneaks in, days when the weight feels too heavy. But emotional strength doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you keep showing up even while you struggle. You keep choosing the next right action. You keep leading your mind back to focus, back to truth, back to why you started. Because you didn't come this far to stop. You didn't do all this work just to question your worth. You're not here to entertain fear. You're here to outgrow it. You're here to rise, to expand, to become someone you've never been. And that requires you to keep moving, even when the path feels unclear, even when the results take time, even when no one claps for your effort. That's the moment you separate yourself. Not when things are perfect, but when things are hard and you choose growth anyway. That's when you step into your next level. Not because it's easy, but because it's aligned. So take the step. Speak the truth. Stay the course. Trust that the version of you who kept going will thank you for every moment you didn't quit. That's the power you hold. Not in your conditions, in your choices. Every single one is shaping who you are becoming. Keep choosing strength. Keep choosing forward. Keep choosing you. Strength deepens when you no longer let emotions control your behavior. It's not about suppressing what you feel. It's about mastering how you respond. Anyone can react in anger, in fear, in frustration. But to pause, to breathe, to stay centered when everything inside you wants to explode, that's a power most never develop. And that's what makes it rare. That's what makes it respected. Emotional strength isn't about being emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally intelligent. Learning to understand your feelings without being enslaved by them. When sadness rises, you feel it, but you don't let it trap you. When anger sparks, you notice it, but you don't let it burn bridges. When fear whispers, you hear it, but you don't let it dictate your direction. That level of self-mastery builds trust in yourself like nothing else can. Because every time you choose to respond instead of react, you reclaim authority over your life. You prove to yourself that your environment doesn't define your choices. Your emotions don't dictate your identity. You do. And when you start leading your emotions, instead of being led by them, you begin to operate from power, not from pressure. The strongest people are not the ones who feel the least. They're the ones who've learned how to carry heavy emotions with grace, to feel deeply but not sink, to care passionately but not lose themselves in chaos. Emotional strength is being able to sit with discomfort without needing to numb it, escape it, or dump it on someone else. And that level of presence comes with one thing most people run from: stillness. Because stillness exposes truth. In the quiet, you hear the fears you've been avoiding. You confront the beliefs you've been hiding behind. And for many, that feels terrifying. But for the emotionally strong, it's the place where clarity lives. It's the space where healing begins. Most people are constantly running, chasing noise, distractions, validation, because silence feels threatening. But you weren't made to run from yourself. You were made to sit with yourself and grow from within. You were made to listen to your inner world and lead from that wisdom. And when you learn how to do that, you stop needing the world to calm down for you to feel peace. You carry peace into the storm. That's leadership. That's resilience. It takes emotional strength to stop blaming. Blame feels good. It gives us something to point to, someone to fault, a reason to stay the same. But growth starts when blame ends. When you stop saying, "They made me feel this way," and start saying, "I choose how to respond to what I feel." That's where transformation begins. That's the pivot from helpless to powerful. And yes, that shift is hard because it means owning your triggers. It means recognizing your patterns. It means having the humility to say, maybe the problem isn't just what happened. Maybe it's how I've been handling it. That kind of honesty, it's rare, but it's the foundation of real growth. Emotionally strong people don't avoid responsibility. They embrace it. Not because they enjoy pressure, but because they understand that power and responsibility go hand in hand. If you want the power to change your life, you have to take responsibility for the way you live it. That includes your habits, your thoughts, your reactions, all of it. And the beautiful part is this: the more you own, the more free you become. Because now your healing isn't in someone else's hands. Your growth doesn't depend on their apology. Your peace doesn't wait for the world to be fair. It starts with you. Always with you. There's nothing more liberating than realizing you no longer have to be a prisoner of your past, your pain, or your patterns. You can observe your thoughts without becoming them. You can feel your emotions without obeying them. You can break cycles that once felt permanent. But it all begins with the decision to stop being ruled by what's automatic and start choosing what's aligned. And alignment isn't about perfection. It's about honesty. It's about asking yourself, is this thought helping or hurting me? Is this reaction building the life I want or breaking it down? Is this feeling guiding me toward truth or distracting me from it? That level of awareness builds power, because now you're not just reacting to life, you're responding with intention. You become harder to shake, not because you're numb, but because you're clear. You know what matters. You know who you are, and you refuse to be manipulated by temporary emotion when you're chasing a lifelong vision. That clarity keeps you anchored when chaos surrounds you. That intention makes you powerful even in silence. This is the real work, the inner refinement, the mental discipline, the emotional ownership. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's the work that changes everything. Because the stronger your inner world becomes, the less the outer world can control you. And that's when you become dangerous in the best way possible, not to others, but to fear, to doubt, to every version of you that used to flinch under pressure. Because now, you don't just feel emotions, you lead them, you use them, you rise above them. And that is the edge that separates the average from the exceptional. Control over your emotions creates space for clarity, but clarity alone means nothing without the courage to act on it. And this is where most people fall short, not because they don't know what to do, but because they hesitate to do it. The mind might understand what needs to change, yet fear convinces the body to stay still. That gap between knowing and doing is where dreams quietly fade. Emotional strength is what closes that gap. It's not just about understanding your patterns. It's about breaking them. Every excuse you've repeated, every delay you've justified, every time you've said, I'll start tomorrow, they've become walls between you and your potential. And the only way those walls come down is when you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop indulging your comfort. You stop listening to the voice that always chooses safety over significance. Because comfort is addictive. It rewards you with the illusion of peace while it quietly steals your power. But emotional strength teaches you to be comfortable in discomfort. It builds a new kind of muscle, one that allows you to stand in the heat and not melt, to walk through pressure and not break, to feel fear and still move forward. That's when you stop surviving and start evolving. Real growth begins where resistance lives. Not when things are easy, but when you want to quit and you don't. Not when you're full of motivation, but when you're tired, uncertain, and the only thing carrying you forward is your decision to rise. That moment right there, that's your edge. That's where the emotional strength you've been building starts to transform into identity. You can't create a powerful life with a weak mindset. You can't claim peace while feeding your chaos. And you can't step into your next level while clinging to the habits of your old self. At some point, you must decide who you're going to be, not when it's convenient, not when you feel ready, but now. Because time doesn't wait for readiness. Life doesn't pause until you feel bold. It moves, it challenges, it reveals. And the question is, will you meet it with strength or with excuses? Excuses are easy. They protect your ego. They let you off the hook. But they also steal your growth. They keep you in cycles you were meant to break. They feed the version of you that's scared to step forward. That version will always be loud. It will scream to be heard. But you are not here to listen to fear. You are here to rewrite the script. And that begins with accountability. Not the kind that depends on others to check in on you, but the kind that lives inside you. The kind that asks, am I showing up as the person I say I want to be? Am I living in alignment with the values I claim to hold? Am I honoring my future or just entertaining my past? When you begin to answer those questions honestly, something shifts. You stop lying to yourself. You stop lowering the bar just to feel good in the moment. And you start raising your standards, not to impress the world, but to respect yourself. That shift, that quiet elevation is where real self-worth is born, because you don't build confidence through praise. You build it through consistency, through doing the hard things when no one's watching, through choosing what's right over what's easy, through staying committed to your vision, even when the results are slow, even when the process is painful. And yes, it will be painful. Growth always is, but pain is not your enemy, it's your signal. It's telling you something needs to change. It's revealing where you've been asleep. It's waking up the part of you that knows you're capable of more. Pain is not here to break you. It's here to build you. When you shift your relationship with pain, you shift your relationship with power. You stop fearing the struggle. You start embracing it as the path. You realize that what feels uncomfortable today becomes your strength tomorrow. And that awareness, combined with discipline, is what creates transformation. Because discipline isn't just doing what you need to do. It's doing it especially when you don't feel like it. It's leading your emotions instead of being led by them. It's choosing forward when backward feels easier. It's saying yes to your higher self, even when your lower self screams for attention. This isn't just about one moment, it's about every moment, every choice, every thought, every decision to be intentional when distraction calls your name. That's what separates those who change their lives from those who just talk about it. Not talent, not luck, just relentless, unapologetic, emotionally grounded discipline. And if you're willing to live like that, to stop outsourcing your strength, to stop waiting for perfect conditions, to stop letting emotion drive your direction, then there is no limit to how far you can go. Because now, you're not chasing motivation. You're fueled by something deeper, something unshakable, something no one can give or take from you. That is emotional strength. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's powerful. It's the quiet force that carries you when willpower fades. It's the steady fire that turns obstacles into fuel. And once you have it, nothing can stop you. Not the world, not your past, not your fear. You're not here to just survive. You're here to lead yourself through anything. Keep walking, keep rising. Keep choosing the strength that already lives inside you. The moment you begin holding yourself to a higher standard, the world around you starts to shift. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop entertaining what distracts you. You start choosing people, habits, and thoughts that align with where you're going, not where you've been. And that level of alignment demands boundaries. Not as walls to keep others out, but as a declaration of what you will no longer allow to steal your energy, peace, and purpose. Boundaries are not selfish. They are self-respect in action. They are how you protect the emotional strength you've worked so hard to build. Without them, you'll find yourself constantly pulled into battles that don't belong to you. You'll waste time fixing what others keep breaking. You'll say yes to things that make you feel small, resentful, or misaligned. And every time you do, a little piece of your strength gets diluted. Saying no is not rejection, it's redirection. It's telling the world, I value my time, my energy, and my emotional health enough to protect them. It's refusing to shrink just to be accepted. It's understanding that not everyone deserves access to your space. Only those who honor your growth, match your effort, and respect your peace should walk beside you. The emotionally strong don't fear disappointing others, they fear betraying themselves. And they know that every time they sacrifice their truth to please someone else, they abandon the very path they're meant to walk. It doesn't matter how kind you are if your kindness comes at the cost of your own well-being. Real strength is knowing when to give, when to step back, and when to walk away, without guilt, without explanation. There will always be people who misunderstand your growth. They'll call you cold because you stop tolerating chaos. They'll say you've changed because you no longer settle for less. And that's okay. Growth will always look like rebellion to those committed to staying the same. But you are not here to be understood. You are here to evolve. And evolution demands space. It demands silence. Or it demands solitude. Because you cannot hear your inner truth when you're drowning in noise. You cannot build your next level when you're busy trying to fix everyone else's. You cannot expand when you're constantly contracting to make others comfortable. Emotional strength is learning to be okay with being misunderstood. It's trusting that your peace is more valuable than their approval. It's knowing that you're not here to live a life that impresses others. You're here to live a life that fulfills you. And that fulfillment requires you to be unapologetically honest about what you need, what you want, and what you will no longer tolerate. This isn't arrogance. It's clarity. It's power. It's standing in your truth even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you relationships, even when it means walking alone for a while. Because walking alone in your truth will always be more powerful than walking with many in your silence. You don't owe anyone access to your energy. Not everyone deserves to know the depth of your thoughts or the weight of your heart. That sacred space is earned, not given. It's protected, not exposed. And the more you honor that truth, the more peace you begin to carry. Not because life is easier, but because you've stopped giving your power to everything outside of you. The world teaches you to be everything to everyone. But emotional strength teaches you to be everything to yourself first. To know your worth without needing validation. To give without needing applause, to speak your truth without fearing rejection. That inner security becomes your anchor. It keeps you grounded when life becomes uncertain. It keeps you focused when distractions try to pull you off course. Boundaries don't make you hard, they make you clear. They don't make you selfish, they make you conscious. And they don't make you mean. They make you mindful of where your energy goes because you finally understand how valuable it is. Your time, your space, your peace, it's not for everyone. And that realization alone is a level of emotional strength most never reach. You weren't meant to carry everyone. You weren't meant to fix what others refuse to heal. You were meant to rise, to protect your focus, to cultivate peace so strong it becomes your power, to love deeply without losing yourself, and to lead with heart but never at the expense of your own soul. Stand firm in your truth. Not everyone will clap for your boundaries, but that's not why you set them. You set them because you finally believe you are worthy of peace. You finally believe you deserve respect. And you finally understand that the cost of betraying yourself is far greater than the cost of disappointing others. That's emotional strength, not loud, not forceful, but unwavering. It's the quiet decision to live a life that honors your growth, protects your energy, and reflects your worth, no matter who stays, no matter who leaves. Keep choosing you, Because the more you do, the more you teach the world how to treat you. And that's not just powerful, that's freedom. True emotional strength thrives in the ability to embrace vulnerability without fear. This might sound contradictory. After all, vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, a chink in the armor, a crack in the foundation, but the reality is far from that. Vulnerability is the gateway to authenticity, the raw, unfiltered connection with your true self. It is the courage to face your deepest fears, to admit your struggles, and to expose your imperfections without shame. This openness does not diminish your power, it amplifies it. When you dare to be vulnerable, you break free from the exhausting facade of perfection. You stop pretending to be invincible. And in doing so, you invite real strength to take its place. Strength born not from denial or avoidance, but from honest confrontation and acceptance of who you are, flaws, wounds, and all. The emotionally strong understand that hiding pain only prolongs suffering. The longer you bury your emotions, the more they fester beneath the surface, leaking into your thoughts, decisions, and relationships in ways you might not even recognize. True resilience comes from naming your pain, feeling it fully, and then choosing to rise beyond it, not by ignoring it, but by honoring it. There is immense power in acknowledging your struggles. It's not a confession of defeat, but a proclamation of self-awareness. It signals to your mind and body that you are ready to heal, to grow, to rewrite your story. Vulnerability invites compassion from yourself and from others, creating the space where transformation begins. And when you allow yourself to be seen, you give others permission to do the same, sparking connection and deepening your sense of belonging. But vulnerability requires bravery, the kind of bravery that challenges every story you've been told about strength, the kind that demands you stand naked in your truth, even when the world prefers masks. It requires the willingness to be uncomfortable, to sit with uncertainty, and to risk rejection. Yet this risk is the price of freedom. Because when you stop hiding, when you stop protecting your image, you step into a life that is more honest, more passionate, and more fulfilling. This is the paradox of emotional strength. To be strong, you must be soft. To be resilient, you must be real. To be powerful, you must be open. Your greatest gift is not perfection, but your humanity. Embracing it unlocks an inner reservoir of courage that no external force can shake. When you practice vulnerability, you develop emotional intelligence. You learn to read your feelings without judgment, to understand their origins, and to respond wisely instead of reacting impulsively. This self-mastery gives you control over your emotional landscape rather than letting your emotions control you. It equips you to navigate life's storms with grace, to adapt when circumstances shift, and to find peace amidst chaos. In this space of acceptance, fear loses its grip. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of being misunderstood, they all begin to dissolve. You realize that the worst thing that can happen is not rejection, but living a life half alive, trapped behind walls of protection. And that realization is enough to fuel a fierce commitment to authenticity. You begin to understand that emotional strength is not about never breaking, it's about breaking open. It's about letting the cracks show, because through them, light can enter. It's about allowing yourself to feel deeply, to grieve fully, and to love fiercely, without hesitation or apology. This kind of strength creates resilience that is not brittle but flexible, not forced but natural. And with that resilience comes a new level of confidence, not the arrogant kind, but the quiet certainty that you can handle whatever comes your way, because you've already faced your shadows and survived. You've looked fear in the eye and chosen to step forward anyway. You've learned that your emotions are not enemies to conquer, but guides to understand. This confidence becomes a shield, not because it shuts out vulnerability, but because it integrates it. You become unshakable, not by blocking out pain, but by moving through it with openness and honesty. You become someone who can hold space for others without losing yourself, someone who can lead with empathy without sacrificing strength. This balance between strength and softness, courage and compassion, power and vulnerability, that is the essence of emotional mastery. It is what transforms struggle into growth, pain into wisdom, and challenges into opportunities. It is the foundation for lasting change, true freedom, and deep fulfillment. So dare to be vulnerable, dare to be seen, dare to let your guard down and reveal the real you. because in that courage lies your greatest strength. The strength to live fully, love deeply, and become the person you were always meant to be. The power to embrace vulnerability is only fully realized when paired with the discipline to control your inner narrative. Your thoughts are the architects of your emotional world. Every belief you hold, every story you tell yourself, shapes your feelings and actions. Emotional strength grows not just from feeling deeply, but from mastering the voice inside your head, the one that whispers doubt, fear, or defeat. This voice can either imprison you in cycles of pain or liberate you toward unshakable confidence. The emotionally strong refuse to be slaves to negative self-talk. They understand that the stories they tell themselves have immense power to build or break their reality. When faced with failure, they don't spiral into self-blame or hopelessness. Instead, they recognize these moments as opportunities to learn, grow, and become stronger. They deliberately shift their inner dialogue from criticism to curiosity, from judgment to understanding. This shift is not naive optimism. It's fierce self-respect rooted in facts and self-awareness. You must become the guardian of your mind, the vigilant observer of your thoughts. Every time a limiting belief arises, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this serving my growth? Replace the lies that keep you stuck with truths that propel you forward. This rewiring rewrites the chemistry of your brain, retraining your emotional responses and building resilience that lasts. What you focus on grows. This is a law of nature and of psychology. When your mind is consumed by fear, anxiety, or regret, those emotions become dominant, draining your energy and blinding your vision. But when you intentionally focus on your strengths, your progress, and your potential, you fuel the fire of motivation. You ignite a momentum that carries you beyond temporary setbacks toward lasting change. Harnessing this power requires relentless self-awareness. Notice how your mind tries to sabotage you with thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, or this will never work. These thoughts are automatic, conditioned by past experiences and fears, but they are not facts. They are just habits. And habits can be broken. Strengthen your emotional foundation by practicing self-compassion. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you deeply care about. When your mind criticizes, answer with kindness. When doubt creeps in, remind yourself of past victories. When you feel weak, acknowledge that strength is a journey, not a destination. This gentle but firm internal dialogue becomes a shield